Sometimes when you're looking for things, one of the hardest things in that process is figuring out where to start. And oftentimes when you're trying to find it, it's usually not where you thought it might be. We'll discuss that, finding renegades, where they are, and more in this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm okay. Apologies in advance. You may hear some thunder in the background.
Wow. You think people will be able to hear the thunder
rolling through? It's kind of fun. I like thunder and lightning.
As long as you're not outside in it. Correct?
I've camp tented in it, and it's a little dicey, but at night when that lightning lights up the sky around your tent, and then you wait to hear the thunder and it gets closer, the distance between the lightning and the thunder gets closer and closer, and you start to realize it's right over our head. And then it starts to go away because the time gets longer. It's quite a feeling. You don't get much sleep, and then your tent gets totally soaked and you're wet all night. But, you camped. You didn't get a hotel or motel or Holiday Inn. Ooh, look at me pulling out the old song. Remember that song?
I do. All right. I'm doing well. Thanks. I had a long night a little bit, and
your voice is not coming back as quickly as I had hoped.
Nah, I didn't get as much sleep as I had hoped last night, so that's probably part of it. And I haven't really had anything to drink yet this morning, so.
You might want to tell people, Tom, why you didn't get much sleep last night, or they will think other reasons.
What will they think?
I don't. Just trust me. I have some experience in this realm.
Okay. I'll share it. I was planning to share it, so I'll share it.
Okay. Go ahead.
No. A little bit later.
All right.
Oh, I don't want to ruin the big surprise.
I see a segue.
I don't know about that. I just know that there's a reason why I'm going to share it when I share it.
Okay. So, hey, folks, this is today's Antidote. That's Tom. I'm Bob. And we are talking this week about the how we find renegades. If you go back last week, we talked about what the Renegade office was. And the week before, we talked about what renegade leaders are. So there's a logical pathway here, which is new for us. But if you didn't catch any of those, you might want to try to check them out. They are really, I went back and listened to a couple of them yesterday while I was driving. They really do cover a lot of interesting ground. I think they're great for if you're trying to think about being a leader or if you're trying to work with leaders. I think it's also great to think about what the office of today and tomorrow can be. We don't give any firm ideas, but I think we point people in some directions that they may not be thinking about. And ultimately, the whole 3 weeks is really about not always doing the same old, but actually branching out and considering alternatives. Not saying you have to do them, but to me, it's about considering them. Just wanted to throw that in there, Tom.
You wanted a little head start for people. I like that. It's good. Give them a little, for those people who haven't been listening recently or are brand new to our show, we want to welcome you. This is today's Antidote. As Bob said, it's our daily broadcast and podcast. We do this every morning. Usually it's 7, sometimes 8 o'clock.
Every weekday morning.
Every weekday morning, correct.
We take the weekends off. We didn't always.
Although I think we've always taken off Sunday, kind of like Chick-fil-A.
Yes. So. Like Chick-fil-A. The comparisons just start there and continue.
They have to start somewhere. Otherwise, there's nothing to compare. Anyhow, so our goal is to have a conversation around a topic each week. And then a part of that topic we discuss each day. And we always encourage people to share their thoughts and ideas because we know that if that's what is real for them, it's likely going to have value for someone else. So please, as we go through this, feel free to share your comments in whatever social media platform you happen to be using or watching us on, whether that is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live.
Yes, LinkedIn Live.
LinkedIn Live.
We are available on all those platforms. So as Bob mentioned, if you're trying to go back and find any of those episodes from the last couple of weeks, you can do it on any of those platforms, or you can always listen to our podcast, as some people may. You can find it on wherever you listen to podcasts. And there you can go back and check out all the different episodes, including yesterday's, which was our 600th episode of Today's Antidote. And then at the end of the show, every day, every weekday, Bob and I will offer our one thing, our Today's Antidote. That thing that we
like
hope.
how that works.
Are you just figuring that out?
No, I just sometimes it fascinates me.
Okay. 600 episodes. You got that down now, huh? Anyhow.
It clicked.
Sometimes everything clicks a little bit differently for different people.
Even the blind squirrel finds a nut.
That's usually my line. You stealing my lines?
I'm stealing your lines.
So we also would encourage you to share your one thing, because we know that people are out there looking and trying to find their next step along their own unique pathway to success. And what you have to offer may be just what they need to help them move forward. So please feel free to share that as well. When we kick off the show, we're going to get to our topic in just a minute. We kick off our show, though, with celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating the fact that last night I got to spend some time with someone who teaches pre-kindergarten kids. And she spent several hours creating little gifts for each of her students. She has 38 students, and each of them is going to get, I hope they don't hear this, but they're in school. Half of them are in school right now. Little bottles of bubbles. And it says something about, I should know because I read it 40 times, but something about I bubble with excitement over what you've accomplished this year.
Cute.
And I helped her cut the ribbons and tie the little bows and all this stuff. And the joy she took in doing that was something that was just amazing to me. That, you know, we don't think about how formative pre-kindergarten is to kids. And this is their last day with her. So that, you know, we as adults know what that's like. As 4-year-old kids, it's just gonna be like, she's not here anymore, you know, and they go on with their life, and who knows what effect she has. But seeing the joy and being a part of just the fun of wrapping that stuff so that those little kids would have something to go home with was really something special.
Nice. That's a nice thing to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Thank you for sharing it with us. So mine is that my septic system stopped backing up last night, finally.
Oh, God.
And once I got done mopping up the floor, my evening was much better. It was later.
Has the smell gone away?
No. And of course, it's the bathroom right near my office. So that's...
How many showers have you taken since then? Because I had that privilege a couple of years ago, and I found that it was about 3 days before I felt like I'd had enough showering to get that whole out of my system.
Yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet. I did go outside at one point last night, somewhere in the darkness, and hosed myself down a little bit. So
that's a great image.
It was quite the evening. And I think I didn't shower because of the time that I finally completed my task. So it was an interesting evening, and I am celebrating that evening is over.
Okay. And then today, Tom, we have a national celebration that I want to highlight because this is an area that I am not very good at. It is National Call Your Doctor Day.
Are you judging yourself?
I am. I know this. I have a couple of nagging medical things that I need to call doctors on. One that goes back about 8 years. Another one that goes back about 6 months. And guys typically reach a certain age where they do not want to interact with doctors for a variety of reasons. I'm blessed enough to get to interact with doctors for some medical reasons pretty frequently. And so when I need to deal with these petty things, I don't really savor it, nor do I rush to do it. But today is National Call Your Doctor Day, to do preventive care and also to take care of those things that you've been putting off. So I share that as a lesson for me. And let me just say, I'm the last person who should be saying you should go see your doctor, because I'm the last guy who goes to see my doctor.
Okay.
But it's National Call Your Doctor Day. Doesn't mean you have to go, I guess. You could just call them. Hey, doc, how you been? I haven't seen
Check
you in
in on
18
them.
years.
You know, they need a little check-in too.
To sign the physical form.
I like that. Check in with your doctor. Call your doctor day.
Checking in with the doctor.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine the office? You're calling. Yes, I'd like to speak to Dr. Smith. Okay, what's the challenge you're facing? I really don't have one. I just want to check in. I'm just calling it. It's National Call Your Doctor Day, so I'm calling my doctor.
Well, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I have 2 doctors who have retired in the last 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, one doctor goes back 26 years with me. And I would say of all the doctors I've dealt with, in the top 2. The other doctor, when I met him, he was 85. Wow. That was 3 years ago. So I kind of knew that the days were numbered with him. But you call the office up, and the one, it was like, I'm sorry, he's no longer practicing anymore. You'll have to find another doctor. I'm like, okay, do you have a list? No, we don't. He didn't leave one. Okay. I'm like, did he die? No, he just retired. Okay, that was one scenario. The other scenario was that I knew nothing about this, and I got a call from a female doctor. I had no idea why. And she's like, Mr. Graham, I'm your new doctor. This person stopped seeing patients, and I'm your new doctor. And I was like, okay, do you know anything about me? She's like, I've looked at your chart. I know your situation. Okay, can we meet? She's like, that would be great. So she and I will meet this next week, I think, just to, I actually like to evaluate a doctor. I do like a job interview. No lie. You don't
like an examination?
They do an examination if no. They're comfortable. What?
You do so you do an examination of your potential doctor?
A mental examination, just so we're clear. But I do. I ask them questions. Like one of the questions, I have a weird medical history, and I always say to them, is there anything about my medical history that discourages you from giving me the best care? And I've had 2 doctors say, yeah, I don't really want to, like, you're so far out there. I'm afraid that I might do something wrong. I'm like, thank you very much. Have a great day. And we're not talking about like GPs out in the middle of the sticks. We're talking about doctors at major hospitals and institutions. And you don't get to be my doctor until you are legit. And in some ways, a renegade. Really, I didn't think about this till just now, but most of my doctors are renegades because the doctor that just retired approved a treatment that the insurance company did not want any part of. And he finally wrote me a note that said, I approve of this, even though it's experimental.
Interesting.
And he disagreed with me. And we fought. And afterwards, every time I saw him, he would say, Mr. Graham, you made the best decision in the world. I really appreciate the fact that you were looking out for yourself in a way that I didn't see.
So how do you find those doctors?
The renegade doctors?
Yeah.
I think this is going to sound weird, but in some ways, I think God puts them in front of you. And then the other part of it is I think you encourage them. And I've found, and I've had a lot of medical care in the last 25, 26 years. So I have some knowledge in this area. One of the most important things is to go in there and get past they're the doctor, they have all the answers, and get to a consultative relationship where you're not doing anything to my body unless I understand every nuance of it. And I'll sit in your office for an hour and make you explain it to me. And I'll call you that night and say, Doc, I understand what you said today, but I've got these 3 questions. I want to understand because no one understands me better than me. And medicine's amazing. I am alive because of great advances in medicine, no lie. But they don't know your body versus my body. And the same medicine you might take, the same situation you might have that I might have, might require some different treatments just because of how we respond to pain, how we respond to antibiotics, how we respond to just going into the hospital. Some people that flips them out. Other people like me at this point, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm in the hospital. Here we go. I don't know how we got to this topic. It's so unrelated, but
Actually, it's very related. It's intentionally asked you that question because if we're trying to find renegades, and you said that you like the renegade doctor,
I do.
and I asked you how you find them, and you started explaining a little bit about where they are and how they are.
And this new doctor that I talked to on the phone, we only chatted for maybe 5 minutes, but I asked her a question. I said, hey, you've dealt with my type of situation. And she said, yes. And I said, oh, that's great. She said, not a lot, but I'm looking forward to learning more about it. It's an area that interests me. And I said, what interests you? And she said, it's an area that I keep coming up. It keeps coming up. The type of situation I have, she's like, I've heard it over and over and over and over. And I just feel like there's an opportunity here. And you seem like someone who would actually share openly. And like, you work at a teaching hospital. I believe in being a patient that helps other doctors figure it out. And so yeah, absolutely. And she said, oh, that is so nice, because most people come in here and just expect me to decide what to do. I said, you won't get that from me. There's only one person making the decision. That's right here. And she's like, oh, I like that.
So is that like other renegades?
I think it is.
And if that's the case, where are they?
I think they're anywhere if you encourage them. What I was trying to do with her was really open the door to, I want it to be collaborative,
okay,
which I think applies to work. I want her to be free to share her point of view, but I don't want her to dictate how we're going to proceed. So when I said, I'd really like to just meet you, I don't have any like emergent medical need. I just would like you to meet me and get baseline on how my body operates, ask me questions. I'd like to ask you questions. She was like, that sounds really great. So you've got to lay that foundation as renegades, right? These are the rules of engagement as renegades. We're not going to deal with the budget right now because that's just not going to happen right now. We need to worry about this thing. We need to get our staffing in order before we can go and ask for a bigger budget. We need to do this before we do that. I think that's part of that renegade thing that we haven't really talked about. But with this doctor, it's getting her to understand who and what I am right now. So when I go in there in 6 months and say, something feels wrong, doc, she doesn't go, okay, let's run a test and see. She's going to ask the questions and say, okay, what feels wrong with you here? Why do you think this? And take that information and explore it in a way that helps get to probably what I would call a renegade solution. It's just funny. I've never put this connection together, but it's fascinating to me. And we have a comment from Troy, who I was lucky enough to meet on Sunday. Troy said he loves our program. It's great stuff, and he tries to catch us every chance he can. Troy says most doctors are trained to treat symptoms. Yes. Not addressing the root cause. Yes. Which is hugely affected by diet and body mass index. But big pharma, I think, can't make money on that. So be your own health advocate. Troy's tracking with me. That was hard to say. Troy Tolley's tracking with me. Thank you, Troy, for that comment. I couldn't agree more. And I love the phrase, your own health advocate, just like in any renegade situation, being your own advocate for what you believe, what your thoughts are, what your ideas are. Ooh.
So where do you go to find these people?
These doctors or anyone?
Well, our topic is about finding renegades and where they are. And
I think they're everywhere.
Okay.
I think they're everywhere, but they are often reluctant to show their renegade qualities. And I know because I've said to a number of people, and I've given a number of people my book, The Renegade Way, and they read it, and they read enough of it. I don't think they read all of it. Some may read all of it. And the same thing happens a lot. They go, hey, you know what? I think I might be a renegade. And that, the minute they make that statement out loud, something shifts in them. There's someone you and I have been coaching that there's a profound shift in him. Like, it's just like it opens the door to new possibilities. And I think that's the great thing about the whole renegade idea, is that it puts a word to something that I think most of us have in our heads, which is we want to make a difference. We want to create our own unique pathway. And so I think anyone in any work situation could be cultivated into being a renegade with some simple steps. Hey, you've been kind of quiet at this meeting. Can you explain to me what you're thinking? Hey, you suggested an idea and we kind of dismissed it earlier in the meeting. Can we go back to that? I'd love to hear what you were what was going on. And I'm trying to be very, I didn't use the phrase "walk me through."
No,
because
but you did.
I heard that yesterday.
Explain to me.
What's that?
You said explain to me.
I got some shifting to do.
No, it's just
go back to yesterday's episode. Tom did some very good teaching.
I shared what value I have.
It's very valuable.
If people want to take it, that's their option. Well, I think that what was interesting is you shared that you loved doctors who were at learning institutions. And then you said, when you talked about renegades, they could be anywhere. Well, then couldn't a renegade doctor be anywhere also? And that by only looking at teaching institutions, you might be missing out on another doctor who is also a renegade and may have other value because you are looking in the place that seems to make the most sense, although may not be.
I don't think I've specifically looked there. I've just found a lot there. I actually, you're going to love this. Back 20 years ago, on a Yahoo group, there was a doctor in New York that was doing something related to my condition. And I started to follow his Yahoo group. And that's what the doctor ended up finally approving, was this procedure that wasn't being done a lot. But this was me seeking out a solution to a challenge.
And looking in a unique spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Correct.
one of the challenges, I think so often that when we try to go find something that we're looking for, we tend to go back to the same old places.
Or we tend to look and say, this isn't it, because we're very specific about what we're looking for. Like, it was not lost on me when this doctor called, the first thing that my reaction was, oh, it's a female doctor. That's already a good sign. Because medical schools are very male oriented. So to be a female medical person, you've been through some renegade just in the way you are taught. And ask any female doctor. I know several female doctors, and they would tell you, yes, it's a male oriented club. So they're already in some ways presetting. Just like I think someone who served in the military for a couple of years before going to college, I think that demonstrates a renegade quality that in a workplace could be really valuable. I would take that as a really intriguing sign. Does that make sense?
It does. I think, where I was trying to go with that was that.
Sorry if I didn't take you where you wanted to go.
That's okay. All you do is share what's real with you, which is fine. I think that we often go looking. Let me give you an example. I was working with a client, a nonprofit client, and they wanted to diversify their organization because they were not very diverse, which, especially in their fundraising area, which is not unique. And, they had tried a couple of searches that didn't really bring the results that they expected. And I said to them, well, you're going looking where everybody always looks. Where do other development directors hang out? Or where do they look for jobs? So you're getting the typical group because you're posting in the typical places. And I said, so let's talk a little bit about this position. And when we broke down the position, only about 30% of their responsibilities were fundraising. And so I said, well, maybe an idea is to come up with a different title for it. and share that title that may be more attractive to a diverse audience, and put it in places where the a diverse group of people might be looking, and not only looking, but looking for that title. And it was amazing how that changed the applicant pool that they had. They had always been looking in the same places with the same information, expecting different results. And until we actually sat down and talked about that, I don't think they would have put the two together. To say, and I think even if that job had had more fundraising responsibilities, there were other ways that you could title that role that might have someone say, oh, I might be good at this role, even though it's not a role, that a traditional role that has a lot of diversity in it. And so I think that, that's part of where Renegades are. They're not always where we think they're going to be.
The Renegade job description.
Well, the Renegade job description is that it's not the one that you used the last time.
Well, that's one of the fallacies that I find in the whole world of employment is we usually use the same objectives, the same job description that we used 5, 10, 15 years ago. Or, this is my favorite, this is even better. We have the person in the role before they leave, update it. Hey, update that job description so it fits you, which is really great because the odds of us finding someone exactly like you are pretty slim. But let's put it out there into the universe in the hopes that there's one other person just like you that did exactly what you did. Boom. And then if we really want to take it to the next level, we could have that person who's leaving the role be a key player in the interview process to make sure you get what you've always gotten.
Well, no doubt. No, I think that's part of the challenges is that we dust off, and it's not just in hiring. I believe it is also true in many of the things that we do.
Promotions go the same path.
Well, even in going and looking for a doctor. That was why I brought up you talked about learning hospitals. Okay. And you're always going, and I would imagine that while there are some there are also others at other places who are looking at the situation they're in and saying, and they're doing it the way they've always done it. I'd like to come in and shake that up a little bit and get them to think a little bit differently. And because of that, they are making changes there. And maybe that Renegade doctor, person, restaurant, whatever it might be, that is unique and interested in doing things a little bit differently that may benefit you in another way.
I'm thinking now that doctor that retired, that became a Renegade and supported something of mine, I don't think very many people interacted with him would have thought of him as a Renegade. In fact, people would say to me, hey, I would always joke and call him by his first name and make jokes to people about, because he could be really gruff on the outside, but he was a teddy bear on the inside. And I'd just be like, oh yeah, how's Dave doing? And they'd be like, what? And I'd seen him in social settings, and he, would see him at the grocery store. But I think I brought out part of a Renegade quality in him because of my passion for my own care. I think one of the things I've learned with medical people, and this is probably something that can apply to the office, is most people want to be told what to do. They don't want to consider alternatives. They don't want to be responsible for their care. Because if I'm responsible for my care and I make a bad decision, I own it. It's a whole lot easier to have this doctor with 26 years of experience tell you, hey, you need to have this surgery on your foot. Okay, that now I'm not responsible. And I think in the workplace, it's the same way. In
our life,
as a leader, if you hire this person who's a renegade in some way that doesn't fit the perfect job description, you run a risk. They may not fit in. They may not do this. Of course, the reality is you have that with everyone.
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to that idea of having expectations. that because this is the way it has always been, this is the way it's going to be moving forward. And so if that's the expectation, when it doesn't happen, which there's a pretty good chance that it's never going to happen exactly the way it happened before, when the challenges come in. So I think that it's a real opportunity to look differently at how we go about searching for what we're looking for.
In every part of our world.
Absolutely.
You know, how do you go looking for a house? How do you go looking for a car? How do you go looking for, I don't know, someone to marry? You know, whatever it is.
Sure. There's the tried and true.
For the record, I'm not looking for anyone to marry, just so we're clear.
Do you think people are wondering that?
I just heard the statement.
It's all right.
What was real for me in the moment.
All right. So let's transition then. So Bob, as we talk about finding renegades and where they are, what's your one thing?
Don't do the same old things to find the people you're looking for. Try something new and be open to the possibilities outside of the mainstream. So with my doctor that approved a procedure, everyone told me he will not do it. There's no way. He's going against this institution. He's going against this. I talked him into it. I made a very compelling case. Doc, here's the thing. It's my body. I believe this. I believe this. And he said, you know, I disagree, but you're right. It's your body. You've done your research. You've thought this through. I will approve it. I hope it works. I have my doubts. We'll deal with the consequences. Fortunately for both of us, consequences were great.
Okay. I like that.
I never thought that would be the story I would share this morning. It's too funny.
Well, I think that it, you know, when you go looking for what you thought you were going to share.
Yeah.
We looked in a different direction. And
We did. Yeah.
I guess that would be my one thing, is that I think that we there's the opportunity to be open. That where we've always looked isn't always the place that is going to generate what we truly desire next. And I think the reason that is because what is real has changed.
Mm-hmm.
You have new knowledge, experience, and perspective based on what has happened. And if you take the time to review that, that will help change what's real for you, and then think about what's next. So when I talked with that organization and actually asked them to think about, all right, what knowledge have they gained? What new experiences have they had? And what's the new perspective around this role? They were able to then be open to the idea that, wow, well, what's real for us has changed. Why we thought this was a solely fundraising role is actually more about a community engagement role with some fundraising responsibilities. And maybe using that title or some title like that will help us attract a more diverse population to help us achieve the goal that we were trying to have. And so I think that when you are willing to understand what, as I say, real, your knowledge, experience, and perspective has changed, and evaluate that, will help you go look in different directions.
And I think you've used the word diverse a couple of times. In my mind, when we're talking about renegades, diversity is not just ethnicity and those things. It's prior experience, it's approach to life, it's all those qualities that I think sometimes we think of diversity in a very narrow subset. And to me,
Sure.
Diversity of candidates is anything under the sun. Like,
yes.
I always, when I've interviewed, I always love when someone just is completely different than what we were expecting. That lights me up like, let's see what we can do here. Man, this might be a sign.
Sure. And it just was in that case. They were actually talking about.
Okay. But it can be broader, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's, again, that the same old isn't what you're looking for. Again, whether
Right.
and any of that is
Or
that,
it could be. But
well,
if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're going to get.
and the way that you're going to, I think the one way that can be effective in doing that is if you take the time to understand what has changed, that you're not where you were the last time you did something like this, you're in a different place,
Right.
with different knowledge, experience, and perspective. And so you might need to take different steps to achieve the goal that you desire. All right. I think we have we've wrapped this topic up from wherever we started to where
Many
we are.
angles. Yes.
So what is real for us
more
now is
interesting
different.
discussions we've had.
Of course, they're always interesting. All right, everyone. If you have one thing that you'd like to share, your today's antidote around finding renegades and where they are, please feel free to share it. Because we know that just like Bob sharing his story about the doctor that he didn't expect he was going to share, you sharing something you didn't expect you were going to share based on what's real for you could help someone else figure out how to take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. And if you want to talk more about this conversation, we are talking about it inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group. We'd love to have you come be a part of it, or just pop in there now if you're already a part and share some of your thoughts and ideas about finding renegades. We'll be talking about it all week. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. And if you're someone who's got a serious medical condition, you want to talk to someone about it, just how to deal with that from a mental perspective, I've had some experience there. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay. Should they also go out and call a doctor?
It is. That's right. Call a doctor. That's what got us rolling down this path anyway. Yeah.
What's the funny thing about that?
If you've got that growth on your foot, if you've got that wart that won't go away, it's the day to call your doctor.
Or if you want to prank them. It seems to me like the national holiday has set up doctors to be pranked today.
Good
So
luck,
go
good
out
luck
and
getting
call
your
your
doctor to prank. If you can get through to your doctor and prank him, let me know. You've done something really impossible.
I imagine that it has been done more than you might imagine. All right, everybody, go out and have a great day. We will see you soon.
Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.